was a beautiful sunny Tuesday morning in New York City. The sky was crystal clear as I entered the subway heading downtown. When I emerged from the subway at Wall Street, I looked up and saw black smoke billowing out of the World Trade Centers. That sunny Tuesday morning was September 11, 2001, and I worked 3 blocks south of the towers. When I made it to the building that I worked at, the doorman wouldn't let me upstairs. Instead, he offered me to use the phone in the lobby. I called my mom, and she reminds me in a childlike voice. I tried to let her know I was doing okay. But seconds later, the first tower fell, and a swarm of people came rushing into the lobby. The phone went flying out of my hands, and I got pushed into a utility closet with a bunch of strangers. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was going to die. I froze, completely shut down, except for the tears that kept flowing. Until a woman came over to me, grabbed me by the shoulders, and asked me my name. It forced me to take a breath. "Jennifer," I said. She said, "Jennifer, I'm Nancy, and the two of us, we're going to get out of here together." And sure enough, we did. We were evacuated from that building, and everyone scattered. Nancy and I ran from building to building, looking for a safe place for hours, until finally I had the idea to take Nancy to the Dojo, the martial arts school that I had been training at for the previous year. When we entered, for the first time that day, I felt safe. I was able to breathe more deeply, drink water, wipe the soot off my body, and listen to the newscasters doing their best to explain what was happening. Nancy eventually headed home to her family, and I've never seen her since. Nancy, if you're out there, thank you from the bottom of my heart. That dojo became a refuge for me, a safe place, because all I wanted to do in the weeks and months that followed was go there, get out of my street clothes and into my crisp white uniform, tie the belt around my waist, step onto the mat, and sink my bare feet into the rubbery surface, connect my mind, body, and spirit, and get to work. And the work that I did on those mats led to deep and life-altering changes in me. The lessons I learned on those mats has now become the framework that I use to coach other people, how they too can unleash their mojo with wisdom of the dojo. See, as martial artists, we all start out as white belts, pure beginners. We begin to learn life-saving skills and drill them over and over again. We wax on, we wax off, and slowly through the years, we move up from one belt level to the next, from white to yellow, orange, green, blue, red, with the goal of black belt and beyond. But before you move from one belt level to the next, you usually have to pass a very difficult test. A test not just of your physical skills, but of your mental, emotional, and spiritual skills as well. Isn't that a bit like life? You're cruising along, climbing those ladders, and before you know it, life hits you with a really difficult test. Loss, grief, divorce, financial hardship, a disease, a pandemic. This framework I'm about to share with you will help you build the inner strength it takes to get back up after you've been knocked down by any type of opponent. I invite you to join me on the mat by stepping your feet into that rubbery surface, connecting your mind, body, and spirit, and let's get to work. Because the lesson of the white belt is to embrace the suck, to consciously accept, maybe even appreciate something that is extremely unpleasant, yet unavoidable in order to move forward. Life is not one long, smooth ride, as we know. Things that suck are bound to happen. And the sooner that we can accept that as fact, the sooner we can move on to pursuing the life we truly want. In the months and years following September 11th, I found myself becoming almost addicted to my martial arts training, but in the best way. Physically, I was getting stronger. Mentally, I started to feel more confident, more aware. And spiritually, I started to feel more grounded and more on purpose than ever before. Looking back now, I am certain that that dreadful day on September 11th has somehow led me to become the person I am today. It led me on a path of becoming a health and empowerment coach, a speaker, and an author. It led me to help develop my purpose and mission of helping others feel more strong, safe, and powerful from the streets to the boardroom. It led me to where I'm standing right now on this red dot with all of you. So, when's the last time you took a look back and gave yourself a deep bow to honor your journey, to recognize that all of those challenges you've been through have somehow led you to where you are right now? Perhaps you can accept them, maybe even appreciate them for all of the strength you've developed because of them and not in spite of them. And I invite you to take that bow with me now. You have officially embraced the suck. Which leads us to the lesson of the yellow belt, which is how to bounce back. As a yellow belt in martial arts, before we learn any takedowns, we learn what's called mat work, how to fall and get back up on our feet with more velocity and ease each time. There are 3 strategies I learned on the mat that can help us get back up after a takedown or avoid it altogether. And the first strategy is the pivot, or simply to move out of the way of an incoming assault. Haven't we all mastered the pivot in the last few years? Whether it be homeschooling your kids, working from home, or simply feeling isolated for long periods of time. We got this. The second strategy is to roll with the punches. We learn to take the impact of an incoming assault, tuck ourselves in a tiny ball, roll backwards so we can use that momentum to get us right back on our feet when the hits keep on coming. And lastly, sometimes life knocks us out for the count. Perhaps something is taken away from you, like a job, a relationship, or even a person. There may be no option to pivot or roll. The only option that we have is to make an ultimate comeback and rise from the ashes like a phoenix. The events of September 11th took us all by surprise. There was no time to pivot or roll. But afterwards, over time, I used the ultimate comeback approach to recreate myself and my career, all of which has led me here today. Where in your life could you use a little mat work skills to keep you nimble and help you build the resilience so you can come back even stronger? Once you've mastered your mat work skills, we move to the lesson of the orange belt, which teaches us blocking. As an orange belt, we start to realize that if we don't learn how to block all the punches and kicks that are coming, we're going to spend way more time on the floor than necessary. So we learn and we drill our blocking techniques. In general, there are 2 styles of blocking. The first kind is hard blocks, where an opponent's force is met with a force equal to or greater than the incoming assault. Or we have soft styles of blocking, where we blend with the incoming assault only to redirect it out into space or back at your opponent. The bottom line is this: you have options, and the more that you drill your blocking skills, the easier it will become to set boundaries with your boss, with your kids, with anyone trying to take advantage. At green belt level, we begin to harness the power of our voice. Martial artists use a vocal technique called a ki-up, which translates to spirited yell. We use this ki-up to accentuate every punch and kick, and possibly to intimidate an opponent. You get to choose your style of ki-up. Some people use the word ki-up, and some people use hi-ya, like Miss Piggy. It doesn't matter the sound you choose. What matters is how you deliver it. At Greenbelt level in my training, I started to use my voice in a powerful way, not just in the dojo, but in all areas of my life, to set my rates in my business, to combat the everyday street harassment that women face. I used my voice to leave relationships that no longer served me. Most importantly, to this day, I use an inner key up to drown out the dreaded voice of self-doubt. Where in your life are you not using your voice, and where can a powerful key up be used to communicate your strength? Which leads us to the blue belt. At blue belt level, we start to become aware of our chi. Chi is the word that Eastern cultures use to describe life force energy, the energy that keeps us alive and vibrant. We begin to feel it in our movements, and we know when our tanks are running low. Currently, our culture is heading for burnout. Essentially, our energy expenditure far outweighs the level of self-care that our minds and bodies need to thrive. At Blue Belt level in my training, I took an energy audit. At the time, I was running around the city, in and out of subways, training clients, back to the mat for more training, all while my social life is going full throttle. I realized that I couldn't continue at that pace, and it was not sustainable. That if I didn't change things up, that I would be headed for burnout. So slowly, I reprioritized my well-being. I cleaned up my nutrition, I focused on my mental health, I made rest and sleep a greater priority, and I watched my energy soar. Check in with your chi right now. Is it vibrant, or does your energy expenditure far outweigh your input? The red belt lesson is to go within. At red belt level, we begin to focus on slower forms of movement, and we deepen our meditation. This helps us enhance our intuition, so we can see a punch coming way before it has a chance to land. In life, this translates to practicing mindfulness. The purpose of a mindfulness practice is to help widen the gap between a stimulus and your response. It helps you get to choose how you want to think, act, and feel. At red belt level, you're running your life versus life running you. My mindfulness practice is meditation, and it's completely transformed my life. Before, I used to worry constantly. I worried about my family, my finances, my future. In general, I felt like everyone and everything was passing me by and I would never be able to catch up. Sound familiar? But since committing to my mindfulness practice, I feel more calm, more at ease, like I'm flowing with life and it's not an uphill battle. Will you commit to going within so you can slow down and give yourself that buffer between what's causing upset and your reaction to it, so you can take back the reins on your life? All right, are you ready to earn your black belt? Yes. When I first started training, I would envision what I thought being a black belt was all about, whether it be executing my sword forms with precision or being able to take someone down twice my size. But as I got closer to my test, I realized that being a black belt was about so much more. In fact, I had to volunteer 100 hours of teaching before even being considered a candidate. Why? Because black belt level is about leadership. A black belt is a teacher, a mentor, a coach who helps others rise through the ranks. But me, a leader? At the time, I was running around the city in my Lululemon pants, training my clients and struggling to pay the rent. But as I moved through the levels of the belts, I realized my idea of leadership expanded. I realized that leadership is not reserved for certain groups of people. Leadership is for anyone who chooses to step into it. As we trained for our black belt test, we drilled our stances. These physical stances helped us stay steady and grounded. And out in life, that translated to us black belts being able to stick up for others and causes greater than ourselves. That steadiness started to relate in other areas of my life. My business grew and my influence expanded as I started to take a larger stance on issues like women's safety and equality. You too can be a black belt leader in your life, but by no means do you need to run to the nearest dojo and sign up for classes. You simply need to choose it. Step onto the mat, tie the symbolic black belt around your waist, and consider these 3 questions. 1, who is in your dojo, your communities, your family, your colleagues, your social circles? 2, what stances will you take? Who or what will you advocate for in the face of adversity? And 3, how can you help others rise? How can you mentor or coach others up through the ranks too? And at the very least, when we see someone in distress, let's not look away. Let's reach out and be like my guardian angel from 21 years ago, Nancy, and ask them their name and say, you and I, we're going to get out of here together. Thank you.